I siarad, I brif weithredwr I siarad, a cael ei adroddiadau. Diolch, Lyn.
I'll begin with a sort of headline achievements, and then I'll go into the sort of the wider account of developments over the period 2011-12. We ended the period 31st of March 2012 with 526 councils in membership of One Voice Wales. That represents around about 72% of all councils in Wales, split respectively between 75% in South Wales, which was an increase, 66% in Mid and West Wales, and 75% in North Wales. The figure being slightly lower in West Wales, but if we take out the Pembrokeshire area, which does have a much lower representative rate there, in the rest of Mid Wales, the figures are around 81%, so it's very positive. We had 9 charter agreements in place at the end of 2012, 31st of March, and one was in the process of being finalised, and that has been finalised subsequently, as Myra's also alluded to, the Brecon Beacons National Park Charter. And I suppose much work is being taken forward now through the area committee structure of One Voice Wales, and I'm very pleased with the work of my development officers in putting out very robust and demanding agendas for the sector. There's a lot of work going on. We're doing a lot of work in terms of collaboration with other organisations, and it's a big agenda, but it certainly feels like we're very much up to that challenge. The council training programme has gone from strength to strength. 96% of the participants rating the training we provide as good or excellent, and 96% of those who have training were wishing to receive further training. We undertake the implementation of the Welsh Local Government funded bursary scheme, and which provides support of 50% for council training costs for those councils with an income of less than 40k. During 2011-12, 139 bursary applications were received and processed, an increase of 48 applications on the previous year. During 2011-12, One Voice Wales established many new working relationships, and in fact Myra's added a few more in the 6 months of this year as well. But some of the sort of key collaborations included some EU-funded work with Aberystwyth University. That's actually just come to a conclusion, and I'll certainly be updating you next year's AGM on the progress there. Very positive progress. We're doing quite a bit of work with the Participatory Budgeting Unit, and they've been to many of the area committees in North Wales explaining their work, and I see a big role for that approach to community engagement moving forward in the coming years. Ordnance Survey, we've been doing quite some interesting work around geographical information systems, and I think there'll be some good news stories in the coming months on that agenda. And a particular area where we've been very successful, and a big thanks to Cynnal Cymru for the work that they've done in collaboration with One Voice Wales over the last year. And in fact, through negotiation, their Welsh Government contract includes now elements where they will be continuing to support the community and town council sector into the future. So very positive news. We continue to represent the sector on the Local Government Partnership Council. There was only one meeting during 2011-12. One was cancelled at the beginning of this year in advance of the elections. But we carry out many representative roles on behalf of the sector. I sit on a number of boards in terms of things like urban sustainability, Sustainable Development Advisory Panel with Peter Davies. We sit on the Community Resilience Panel for Wales. And Myra's mentioned this, I sit on the Local Service Board, European Structural Fund Advisory Board for Welsh Government. And again, it gives us an opportunity as a sector to relay our views, relay where we're going as a sector, and actually to inform perhaps other public services and stakeholder organisations of the great work that's being done within the sector. I think, you know, the hiding a light under a bushel certainly comes to mind, and I'll come on later in my speech to inform you what we will do in the coming months to take that forward. One Voice Wales has written many comprehensive responses over the last year. I'm very pleased, and a special thanks to Dr. Dan Morgan, who leads on policy for me. for the work he's undertaken in drafting responses on behalf of the sector with myself, and that's reaping rewards, and certainly has led to a lot of positive developments in the last 6 months. Increasingly, government policies are referring to the sort of localism agenda, and it's not a word that's been explicitly used in Wales. However, the words, we need to develop our communities, develop our villages, develop our towns. There's work going on around town regeneration that CREW, the Centre for Regeneration Excellence, is undertaking, and One Voice Wales will be working in collaboration with them in the coming months and years. And there's a feeling, certainly from the conversations I'm having with Welsh Government and have had with Welsh Government over the last sort of 18 months, that we're of our time. It's our zeitgeist. We are, as a sector, starting to be recognised for what we're delivering within communities across Wales. In terms of the collaborative agenda, we worked very closely with Welsh Government during the period 2011-12. We saw the local government measure receiving royal approval on the 10th of May 2011, a significant game changer for the sector. 2 specific issues in there, I think, of particular relevance: the power of wellbeing, hence today's conference agenda, and the specific powers that ministers now have to provide money to the sector. And I think that bodes well for us. And the sort of the whispers at the moment certainly suggest that in the coming months and years we're going to see a lot more support for the sector in real terms, in real financial terms. Again, very positive for all of us, one and all. We certainly became, as I say, more involved in the policy agenda. We've provided responses around proposed procedural changes on advertising road traffic regulation orders, the altering the date of the local government elections in Wales, consultation on quiet areas and a environment noise directive, to name just but a few, and many others. And certainly the big and important one at the beginning of the year that we responded to was around the single integrated planning consultation. Might have missed some people's attentions, but that is certainly reaping rewards now. And although this report refers to 2011-12, we've recently had the independent advisory group's report on town planning, and you'd be very pleased to read a specific chapter on the enhanced role of community and town councils moving forward. And I think we'll address some of the issues that were raised in terms of questions around third-party appeal from this morning. I think there's a much bigger role for the sector in local development planning and community planning per se. In terms of the sort of wider developments, naturally, as a membership body, we provide advice and guidance. I'm very pleased to say that I'm very proud of my development officers. You really have got some excellent staff working for the sector. 95% of queries are dealt with in 5 days. Someone may shout it took 12 hours or 20 days, but I know that is the exclusion. It's not the regular occurrence. And I think we are getting better at this. We are sending fewer referrals for legal advice because of our expertise is growing as a membership body. In terms of providing information on policy development, well, we provided advice to certainly Welsh Government on the sector's views on issues relating to not only the Welsh agenda, but the UK agenda and even the European agenda as necessary. Earlier in the year, I provided advice to and evidence to the Local Government Bylaws Scrutiny Committee, and obviously I think people are watching what's happening with that, because it's suddenly become a keynote legislative matter between Westminster and the National Assembly for Wales. In terms of supporting the implementation of the National Training Strategy, Myra's covered off a lot of the developments. I would like to sort of point out that in 2011-12, we undertook a root and branch review of the training function within One Voice Wales. Under the guidance of Paul Egan and Paul, again, thanks to Paul, new to the organisation during the period, and has really helped us take forward our training and actually our consultancy agenda over the last 12 months. I think in terms of other collaborations, naturally, as a sector body for Wales, we work very closely with the Society of Local Council Clerks, and we continue to work very actively with the National Association of Local Councils in England. And in fact, on the planning matter, earlier in the year, I attended Portcullis House and met with officials and MPs to take forward an early day motion into Parliament relating to the right of third-party appeal. On the basis that unless we have a bite as a sector, we'll never really be listened to. And I think people start to wise up to the idea that scrutiny at the local level is an important aspect of the planning process. In terms of taking up All Wales opportunities, we've, I suppose, provided a different kind of service over the last 12 months. And I've sort of encouraged Paul Egan, through myself, and with colleagues within One Voice Wales, to drive our consultancy activity. And I think that is certainly reaping rewards at the present time, with councils actually receiving services now from One Voice Wales around HR, health and safety at much reduced cost, and actually at much better quality. And that's the feedback we're getting. So there's the plug for the consultancy, and we're doing very well on it, and I hope to see that develop further in the coming years. I mean, in terms of 2011-12, we worked with a range of organisations. I touched on Canol Cymru, but other organisations like 7Y Energy. We've worked with organisations like Kilch, and I made a visit earlier in the year to Prestine Town Council. And I would recommend you seek out on the website some of the work that they're doing about recycling within their community. They've managed to achieve 75% recycling rates in Prestine, which is quite remarkable, and it already hits the 2025 targets. In terms of promoting best practice, I think we've been fairly successful over the last the period. We are certainly highlighting to stakeholder organisations and Welsh Government the great work that's going on. And one of the things, and this is what I mentioned earlier, one of the things we want to do now as an organisation is take forward that at a pace. I need to evidence-base the work that's being done, and I would call upon all member councils to contact development officers, contact myself or the office, with the initiatives and the projects that are going on within your communities, because I want to develop a very comprehensive case study of information around specific thematics. It could be around youth councils, it could be around the work you do on environmental work, or around leisure provision. But we need that evidence base so that I can persuade the Minister that it's worth investing more and more in this sector. And I think the evidence is already there, we just need to collate it. We've certainly seen some sort of improvements around community involvement and engagement in local issues. One Voice Wales over the last year has really put some effort into the whole community engagement agenda. I said in my first letter to the whole sector about 2 years ago now that one of the areas I felt that the sector needed to excel in was around community engagement. And there's been lots of pieces of work that have been undertaken, and latterly we've done some work with Monmouthshire Rural Development Plan team around community-led planning. And again, there's been hopefully some good news stories over the coming months in relation to that. I'll just touch on last year's conference. I felt last year's conference was quite successful. We had some excellent speakers, Steve Thomas from the WLGA and colleagues from Big Lottery. And we had a number of organisations which is, again, sponsoring us, which generates some good income for One Voice Wales, which we obviously plough back into member benefits. Around 220 odd people were at last year's conference, and a similar figure this year, which is very pleasing in particularly difficult financial times. In terms of the communications message, one of the things I'm doing at the moment is really pushing a communications agenda for One Voice Wales. And certainly during the period 2011-12, we reviewed the format of the Voice publication. And if anyone's not getting the Voice publication, please contact the head office, and we will ensure that you get either a PDF copy via email, or we'll get a hard copy through to you. It's important that the members across Wales receive this publication, because it's where we put a lot of our information. It informs you about what we're doing. And I get a mixed bag of response when I say to people, have you read the latest edition of The Voice, and what's that? So that sort of concerns me. So that's an area we're going to be concentrating on in the coming year. But what I would like to say is a big thanks to Cerys Thomas, who's taken up the position as North Wales Development Officer at the beginning of 2012. Cerys has come into the organisation with fantastic resume with a huge amount of public service experience, funding experience. I probably missed some other experience, but a real asset to One Voice Wales, and is certainly helping us with our communications agenda. On that note, the website, it's only 4 years old, our website, but it's already, in my view, a redundant tool and needs a refresh. And to that end, we've been working with Welsh Government, and I am trying to seek funding through Welsh Government for a complete overhaul of One Voice Wales' IT infrastructure. Other developments, the larger local councils committee meeting on a regular basis, and in 2011-12 received a range of presentations from Pontrhydfendigaid Youth Action, Wales Audit Office, 7Y Energy, Canol Cymru, Gwent Police, National Assembly for Wales Outreach Service, Welsh Assembly Government Community Cohesion Unit, and the External Auditors Mazards. It's a growing committee, that one, and I think a committee that has the potential to be quite powerful in terms of its lobbying role within the sector. I think I'll stop on in terms of the sort of wider benefits, and just, I suppose, really just conclude with I suppose, some thanks. You know, I thank the Chair for her kind words in her address, but I've certainly got to thank the staff of One Voice Wales. I don't say this lightly, and I'm not over-egging this when I say their efforts are certainly beyond the call of duty. I've said it once, I'm very proud of them. I think they bring a huge amount of public service knowledge to the table, and you know, when we go to the GPs and we ask for a response, you're turned away, and it takes a few days to get to see your GP. Increasingly with my staff, the response is over the phone. It's that quick. I could argue a case for slowing down the response rate, because there's a huge amount of work that we're doing as an organisation. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to spoil the excellent service you receive. But I just really want to sort of press on you how lucky we are to have the staff we have at One Voice Wales. And I'm certainly going to make a special mention, as I did last year. I call them the engine room. It's a really derogatory term, but they certainly are the engine room of One Voice Wales. And personal thanks to both Tracy and Paula, the administrators at HQ. I would ask anyone to come down and see their efforts. It is quite staggering what they get through in a working day. I'd also particularly like to thank the leadership of the National Executive Council over the last 12 months. There's been some really challenging issues, and the National Executive has certainly faced up to them and supported myself and staff's efforts over the period. I'd also like to thank the Chair. This is a bit of loving up here, but I certainly would like to thank the Chair for her energy and support during the period. She's been certainly been an inspiration to myself, and I'd certainly like to thank the contributions of the Vice Chair, Brian Grew, and the Chairs of Policy, Finance and Training, respectively. Their efforts, you know, for volunteers, it's something to be a community councillor and do that activity. But actually get involved with a national organisation and put those extra hours in, I can only, you know, I can't thank them enough, really. And again, finally, by no means last, I'm certainly indebted to our President, Karen Roberts. Karen and I touch base, not every week, but certainly when I do touch base with Karen, I certainly would like to thank him for his sort of thoughtful and measured comments. It certainly helped me in my leadership role of One Voice Wales. This is 2011-12's report. It's been a fairly good year. It's not been a brilliant year, but what I can certainly say is, as of 1st of April to date, 2012-13 has been a very, very good year, and I look forward next year to giving you the full detail of how well the organisation is moving forward. Thank you.